Hey, this is Scott Spears along with Matt Morgan, Glenn Coble, and the 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, and we are with you this week for yet another edition of The Exchange here on WGH Talk. And we've assembled this group because, to be honest with you, things are happening at a very rapid pace with the government. A lot of things going on statewide as well. We've got a lot to talk about there just in the last couple days. We're taping this on Wednesday night. And we're going to get into it. Now, the significance of the Stewart's Root Beer on the desk here is that Stewart's Root Beer is celebrating 100 years of business this year in Marion. Open 100 years, a century, Mary Ellen. What a great business to keep on going.
Yeah, we didn't go there this year.
We've got to get there. We've got to go before it's over.
Right.
Absolutely. Glenn, what do you like about Stewart's? We'll start off with an easy question before the hostility starts to build.
I really like the old style root beer. It's not...
It's good root beer.
Yeah, it is good root beer. And I like any little local restaurant. I love local restaurants. I can't afford them, but I love them.
Well, to be open 100 years, it's Marion's oldest restaurant. It's Marion's longest continuing restaurant. It was on the front page of the paper on Monday. My friend who I've known for years who owns it, Michelle Whitaker, was on the front page of the paper. I love seeing that. It's a tradition here in Marion at this point. The orange building, everybody knows it.
Yeah, my wife even knows it, and she doesn't know much about Marion.
But she knows Stewart's.
She knows Stewart's.
100 years.
We've gone there and had root beer.
Matt, it's a great place.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I mean, I think my favorite thing about Stewart's has got to be the root beer floats. You can't go to Stewart's and not get a root beer float. They got,
absolutely.
Probably the best root beer float I've had.
Their fries are good, and the chicken sandwich is what I always go for.
Best chicken sandwich, too. That's what I get, chicken sandwich and root beer float.
I'm going to have to go there and eat.
We should all go together sometime. We'll all just go together and have lunch one day. It'll be nice. But Stewart's Root Beer, check it out, North Main Street here in Marion, celebrating 100 years the entire season. And I would imagine they'll be open through October, which is normally the case. Well, let's turn to politics. Now, we're going to start with kind of an oddball here that actually does not have to do with Donald Trump. But it is an interesting question, and I wanted to get Mary Ellen's opinion on this particular one. Is Monica Lewinsky is back in the news.
Yes, I saw her on the Late Show the other night.
She's making the rounds.
Yes, I was very surprised. I guess she wrote a book.
Wrote a book and has started a podcast, of all things.
Yeah.
But this is what she said. And of course, for those who don't know, Mary Ellen was serving President Clinton when that whole thing happened back in '98. Look it up if you want to know more about it. But I think people are aware of what happened.
We don't have to look it up.
We don't have. No, it's people remember. People remember. But now Monica Lewinsky says that Bill Clinton should have resigned or not have found a way to not throw her under the bus. Now, this is '98 that this happened, so this is what now, 27 years later on? Monica Lewinsky feels that Clinton should have resigned, or he should have found a way to not throw her under the bus. That's what she feels. That's the big headline today. And of course, Mary Ellen, you were there when that all went down. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about what Monica's saying here in 2025?
Well, actually, the government was shut down when that happened. And my husband said he didn't have enough to do. Hillary was in Europe, and for him to resign, I think is too much. The public accepted it, really, I think. And he was very popular after that. But when I went to talk to children, I talked to a lot of children at schools, and they'd ask me if I knew President Clinton, and I said yes. And they'd go like that. I thought, I wish he could hear that. He should be hearing what they're saying,
You know what it makes me think about, now then I'm going to come to Glenn and Matt here on this, but because you were a part of it, there are two significant stories, and I think getting them on the record here during the time that this quote's being done is important. Well, one is a story. Let's do the story first, the John Glenn story. And I had not heard this until he died when you came on the program a few years ago, that John Glenn came to your office and said what about this matter?
Well, he said he'd have been a great president if he hadn't done this. And I said, I agree. We both were talking about it, and but he didn't say anything about he should resign. I think I don't agree with that.
She could just be trying to sell books and get.
Well, I feel very sorry for her because it's stayed with her whole life. She's had to deal with this. But I think she brought it on, to be honest with you. I think she was the one that made the attempt to interest him. And so maybe she's not to be felt sorry for either. I don't know.
I think what's interesting about this situation, and the other part it's not so much a story, but the repercussions that this had on people. It stayed with Hillary Clinton because
Yeah.
she stayed with her husband,
Yeah.
and people felt that she was Tammy Wynette and she was staying with her husband, and it impacted her rest of her political life.
No.
And it hurt Al Gore because Al Gore told Bill Clinton to stay home.
Al Gore was so mad about that.
Yeah.
He was just furious.
So it's interesting to me that this event with Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton changed people's lives. It changed the trajectory of what would have happened, because had this not have happened in 98, you can guarantee that Clinton would have been out campaigning for Gore, and that might have changed that razor-thin election.
Right, and I might have still been there.
And you might have you would have continued on in your job because
right.
Gore had asked you to do that. And also, Hillary Clinton would not have been seen as staying with a
Right.
man who cheated on her, which did impact her with women. The polls all say that. It really did not just impact Bill Clinton and Lewinsky. It had major implications for Hillary and Al Gore.
Yes. And the weird thing about that, Al Gore left his wife. They're still not divorced, but he left his wife after he got out of office. And I thought, how? And he was so upset about that. And now Hillary and Bill are still together, but he's not with his wife.
Ironic.
Yeah. Ironic. I tell you, it's so ironic. I just think about it every once in a while, how ironic it is.
Before we move on to Glenn and Matt on this one, how much did this tick you off at the time, and how much does it stick with you for the reasons we've talked about? Number one, Clinton would be seen as a much better president had this not happened. And you were there. You had to deal with the kids gasping when you would go around to schools. And also, Al Gore lost by one state. It wouldn't have gone to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
You would have continued on in your job.
Yeah.
It impacted you.
Yes, and when I came back, my brother passed away during that time period, and people were making remarks to me like it was my fault, and it certainly wasn't my fault.
So on the whole, that this impacted your life, impacted your interaction with kids, what do you make of this now, 27 years, just the event itself, now 27 years, still being brought up?
Yes, and it's just one of those things you're never going to get rid of.
Are you angry about it, the event?
No, no, I'm not.
It's in the
angry.
rearview mirror now.
Yeah, it's over.
At the time, were you angry?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
I was angry that at the reaction the children had. I felt sorry for them because of how they felt about that. Some of these were very young children, and they seemed to know all about it,
I think, and I don't want to speak for Monica Lewinsky, but I think what she is saying here, everybody did move on from this situation. Obviously, it has stuck with Clinton, and we've talked what it did to Hillary Clinton's career. But they are seen as statespeople. They are seen, their careers went on. Monica Lewinsky has been in limbo. She's still the punchline of a joke.
Yeah.
And I think she probably is ticked. I doubt she thought that for 27 years she would still be the punchline of every extramarital affair joke that there ever was. So I can see why she's ticked. I'm not sure that he should have resigned, but hindsight's 2020. Maybe there would have been a way where her name could have been kept quiet. I don't know. I think maybe that's what she's saying.
Well, what still bothers me is every time they bring up her name, they still talk about the Gmails, and that was there was nothing to that at all. How those things stick to somebody.
Her name, Monica, I remember because Barbara Walters, and that's an interesting thing. Barbara Walters did the first interview, and I think one of the only with Monica Lewinsky after this. It is still to this day the highest rated interview ever watched in the history of the medium broadcast.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, did you watch that interview? I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
What'd you make of that? Everybody watched it. It was Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying about that is one time an interviewer was asking Barbara Walters, do you stay in touch with Monica? And Barbara said, what if I say Monica who? I mean, everybody knows her name. Monica is Monica Lewinsky. That's the first name that comes up. So, Matt, you weren't even alive when this happened, but I'm sure you know all about it, as everybody does. What do you think of Monica reappearing, podcast, book, and now saying that Clinton should have resigned or have found a way not to throw her under the bus?
Well, I think if you're gonna have a whole bunch of recognition behind you, you might as well do something with it. I guess, I mean, the book's gonna sell.
Yeah, I don't think you want that type of recognition.
Oh, well, no. I mean, I don't think you do. But when it's the whole "when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade" thing. I don't think I would want this behind my name. But if I had it behind my name, I bet you that book's gonna sell pretty well.
Right,
but that podcast is gonna be listened to.
But I mean, is it?
But as far as
this is more of a shot at Clinton.
Yes, I'm aware, but I mean that's what I was about to say. I don't think Clinton should have resigned. I mean, I think that's a little far-fetched. I mean, it takes two to tango. And if you listen to the
and she wasn't a child.
No, she wasn't. And if you listen to the interview she did with Barbara Walters, she pretty much, I mean, in there she pretty much says that she invited him.
She lifted up her skirt. I mean, he says it in the interview.
Yeah.
I mean,
look
it up. It was on television.
I don't think that I don't think that it's right for her to say. I think he should have resigned and or kept me out of the meeting. You did it.
Well, and Mary Ellen brings up a very interesting point here to say, I think it's fascinating to think that the government was shut down at that time.
Yeah.
And maybe he was bored and she's being provocative.
Well, I'll tell you, when the government was shut down, it was like nobody was there. I mean, at Treasury, they said, I was there because they were still manufacturing money.
Still had to go to work.
They were still working.
They were still working.
But boy, it was nobody. They weren't supposed to show up, and so they all stayed home. Yeah.
Glenn, you of course remember this. What do you make of Monica Lewinsky back on the scene, podcast, book, and feels Clinton should have resigned or found a way not to throw her under the bus?
Well, let me preface this whole thing with, I really liked Bill Clinton. I thought he was a great president.
Everybody says that. Even Republicans say that.
I thought he was good at his job. That's what I liked about him. I must have been the only person that didn't see that interview. I never saw the interview. So I'm going to have to go home and look at it.
Yeah, but it holds up.
I truly believe that Monica is making the best out of what she can right now. Now, I'm not blaming her for it. I'm just saying that that's some radio television producer came to her and said, hey, we'll make a lot of money off this if you bring it back up. Why bring it up? I wouldn't have brought it back up. I mean, if I were her, why bring it back up? Get it out of there.
Well, I think she has to bring it back up because that's what she's known for. I think it's made this a story today is the fact that she has said she thought he should resign. That's the story.
I don't think he should have resigned. I don't think anybody in the United States would have. I don't think anybody blamed him for not resigning except for maybe her.
What about the girl that brought up the dress?
Oh, that's right. Linda
that
Tripp.
Girl should be brought into it a little bit too.
Well,
that's
right.
Yeah,
and I think Monica did not like her either.
No,
because
probably not.
What up with her?
Well, Monica, how do you explain this? The way they proved this.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You understand how this all happened. You know about the dress.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it was Linda Tripp. Well, you remember that.
Yeah,
it was Linda Tripp.
That.
It was Linda Tripp who was taping the conversations with Monica. Monica never turned Bill Clinton in. Linda Tripp did that.
Wow.
Yeah, what a friend.
Traitor.
What a friend.
Yeah.
Keep your friends close, I guess, is what we say.
Right.
Well, she wanted to save the evidence.
What a thing. That's what made that story so salacious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And whatever became of it, who knows?
Well, just to give you an example, I had a friend say to me, She never liked Bill Clinton because of what he did. I mean, that was
That's
her.
it.
And he was a great president. He balanced the budget, for crying out
Yeah.
loud.
So did,
Well, I have said to people that, the two Democratic presidents that people mention very highly in the last 50 years are Bill Clinton and Obama. And they both were two-term presidents. They both were very popular. They both won by great margins. But Obama is seen as better than Clinton, mainly because of this. But
Oh, I don't see Obama as better than Clinton myself.
but I think you're
really-
right.
I don't really see that.
I
No.
think you're right, but on the lists that come out every year, Obama's always above Clinton,
Is he?
and I think it's because of this.
I'm sure they are. That is
And I
Well,
think
he could have done a lot of things when he was in office that he didn't do.
but it's interesting. The second portion of that is even Republicans to this day will say, "But I liked Bill Clinton." They don't do that with Obama.
Yeah.
Obama did not have that crossover appeal that Bill Clinton had.
That's
and
right.
Bill Clinton, what was it? Balanced the budget 12 times with Newt Gingrich.
Yeah.
Obama didn't do that with the Republican majority. So it is weird that it's impacted Clinton's. I think John Glenn was right. It's impacted his stature.
There's such a comparison today with what's going on with that situation. When I went into office, they said, you've got to get rid of so many people in the Mint and the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. And that's how they went about it with Bill Clinton. And look how they're going about it today.
chopping their heads off.
Yeah.
Well, that's the interesting thing about this whole Doge and Elon Musk is that, and let's get into that, is that federal workers are being laid off left and right, or they're resigning left, right, and sideways. Nobody really has the right numbers. He's not providing the right numbers when it comes into what money's being cut and what money's being saved and what is and what isn't. But I have said, nobody is going to object to getting rid of waste in the government.
Right.
No Democrat, no Republican, nobody. But the problem is that what's being reported and done here is different than what happened under the Clinton administration. They really were just focused on waste. This seems to be, I don't even think they know who they're telling to go away.
No, they're doing it without any preparation. It's just they're not considering anybody and how important they are. It's just carte blanche.
And this is the problem,
Yes.
Glenn.
And then they have to bring them back when they
Yes.
find out they made mistakes.
find out they were really necessary and they got to get
like
them
the
back.
guys who were in charge of the nukes.
Yeah, right. And
Oh, wait a minute, we gotta have those guys back.
Well, and why do they keep misreporting the numbers?
Well, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
They're not just misreporting them, or they're not even mistaking them. They have to be making them up because one of the numbers they put out was $640 billion, and it turned out it was like $15 billion.
Yeah.
So not even close. I mean,
yeah.
though, but I'm not even sure that Trump is for this because even though he always says he supports it, when this email came out late last week that said all federal employees, was it 5 things you have to put in an email every week to tell why you're needed in the federal government?
Yeah.
Well, newly appointed Kash Patel in the FBI and Tulsi Gabbard in the Intelligence Department told their employees, just ignore that email. Don't even pay attention to it. So I'm not even sure that Trump, I don't think he's, I'm not saying he's against it, but I don't necessarily think he's for it.
he doesn't know what he's doing.
No, he doesn't. No, he really and truly doesn't.
He's just ignorant.
He's got that guy telling him what to do, and that's the only reason he's there, because he thinks he's really smart and he knows what to do, and he doesn't.
I read an interesting article today about him from
Elon?
about one of his friends. Basically ratted on him and said he was always a show-off. He didn't know what he was doing.
Well, with a chain saw dancing around on the stage. I mean, the guy's an idiot.
Well, he wasn't so stupid that he turned it on.
No.
That might have been fun.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, what do you think about all this Doge and give me 5 things? But people who work in the Trump administration saying, forget it, don't even pay attention to that.
I think that's quite interesting because I was under the impression that that Trump was working for Elon over here. I mean,
Well, there was an
Maybe.
interesting line about that today. It goes with our next story, and I'll bring it up in a second. But
so like I don't know. That's honestly surprising to me. I figured Donald Trump was just gonna give Elon whatever Elon wanted. But no, I think that I don't know. I don't think that Elon Musk is cutting anybody who's. Has he cut government waste? I'm sure he has. He's cut an awful lot of stuff. Blind squirrels once.
Yeah.
So like I mean, I think they're just going about it not in the right. I mean, they're wiping out whole government departments and things of the
Department of
sort.
Education's on the line.
It's just I mean, it's no good.
They said they wanted to do away with the administration, and that's what they're doing. They're getting rid of the administration and turning it into an autocracy so that Trump can be the leader.
Yeah, but what, on the whole, what is this going to do? I mean,
Make him a lot of money.
okay, but I mean, this is why I say I don't know if Donald Trump gets what's going on, because this has not been good for him. His poll ratings continue to fall. He is clearly having issues with his Congress.
Have you ever heard of an autocrat that gave a rat's behind about his polls? I don't think so. Ask Putin if he cares what his people think. No, he doesn't. He's got, 91% approval rating? Well, that's because only the people that like him are allowed to vote.
Yeah, but you brought up last Friday night. I mean, how far have Trump's approval ratings fallen? I mean,
Yeah.
we're in the low 40s at this point.
Yeah.
That's lower than any president at this time in their term ever.
Yeah.
I think like 46 last time I looked.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, I guess mid-40s. But I just... It does seem like Elon Musk is running the government, and that's a very weird thing.
Yeah. Well, I wish that the rest of our government would get a little bit of backbone and say, that's against the law. You're going to jail because you broke the law. None of them have been told that they're going to pay for this. They're letting them do it. Don't let them do it. They are breaking the law. If I break the law or you break the law, even if Mary Ellen breaks the law, and that's hard to imagine, but if we break the law, we go to jail for it. He should too, and everybody around him.
Well, the judges are coming forth a little bit.
Absolutely.
I mean, there needs to be a lot of talking out there and calling people down for what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, it is interesting, though. People are calling their Congress people.
Yeah, they are.
People are going to town halls.
Yeah.
And even in Republican areas, people are getting booed.
Even here in Columbus, there's big crowds.
Yeah. So, I mean, people obviously do care, and we are not a month and a half into this yet. So, it's clearly the people are not happy. I'm guessing that somebody at the White House is paying attention to that, I would think.
Our little organization, Citizens for Democracy, we have a standing open invitation for Jim Jordan to come and do a town hall with us.
Oh, I wouldn't hold my breath.
I
for
don't
that.
see him
No.
ever.
We'll never see him.
No.
He's
no.
a coward, and he's as corrupt as the rest of them.
He is. Yeah.
He's an interesting fellow.
I wouldn't call him interesting.
There's other words.
Mary Ellen and I are on the same boat tonight.
Yeah.
He's a representative. How about that?
Okay, he's a representative.
He's a representative. He's a congressman at this point.
But he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anybody... he won the last election again, didn't
Yeah,
he?
Yeah, but it was
did.
closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was working. She did
Yeah.
a better campaign.
Tracy got to within, 5 points. I think.
Yeah, was it?
Something like that.
Well, it's...
He's got a lot more money.
Oh, gosh. But she got a lot of money. She told me
She
she
did
got
get
a lot of money. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that people... Jim Jordan is an interesting story. I mean, he's an interesting case because he started out as basically a nobody, and his
Still is.
rise... Well, people do know who he is
I said he
nationally.
still is.
People know who he is, and
Yes.
We recognize
we
him on
recognize him.
television.
And his whole rise is from supporting Trump. I mean, that's really where he became ultra popular.
Oh, he was he started in '04,
Right.
and so that was before Trump.
Right, but he was not well known. I mean, people from Arkansas wouldn't know who he was, but ever since Trump, he's been popular.
Well,
Yeah.
what was on before all of this, and they were meeting and what they call it? He got started in that.
Oh, the Freedom Caucus.
Yeah.
Freedom Caucus.
Didn't
yeah.
he get
that's
started
that's
in
right.
that?
And
Yeah.
he also did question Hillary in the Benghazi hearings. That was
Oh, good heavens, yes, Benghazi.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another word I don't want to ever hear.
there was another thing
That was ridiculous.
road to nowhere is where that went. That whole, but we had to have hearings. We had to do.
They kept having them after they knew there was nothing there.
Yeah, that was not Congress's best moment. But now here's an interesting story. This is what I was talking about earlier about Elon Musk. Kind of. President Trump said, I think it was today or yesterday, that now there's going to be a gold card. Kind of like a green card.
Yes.
A gold card. Now, what does it? You pay $5 million and you can get into this country as an illegal immigrant. You skip all the paperwork and everything. $5 million. And he's asked, because this is going to bring the richest, the brightest, he feels, into this country, the best people. And a reporter said, while he's in this press conference, well, what if a Russian oligarch wants to come in? And he said, I know a lot of good Russian oligarchs. I would not be against it. I bet he does.
You know what really scared me was when Trump and Musk went to Fort Knox.
Oh.
I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to see the gold. And it was after that he came up with this idea about the gold card.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought they're going to get their hands on the gold, and there it goes.
Well, what do you make of this, though, Mary Ellen? $5 million, and you can come here as an illegal immigrant and...
Oh, all he thinks about's millionaires. That's what's so disgusting. He doesn't care about anybody else in this country but the rich people.
Well, I mean, the fact that, there are some rich people in, let's say, Germany or countries of that nature, Switzerland, that I don't think people would have a problem with, but Russian oligarchs getting in after paying $5 million?
Well, I don't know. I was a little more concerned of, closer to home. I wasn't even thinking about Russian oligarchs. I mean, I could be wrong about the exact number, but I'm pretty sure, towards, the height of El Chapo's, criminal career, he was losing $1 million a year because rats were eating it. So, all I'm saying is the cartel's got enough money to buy a couple people some citizenship.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was arguing with. All three of my election things, all three times I railed against money in politics. And it went nowhere because people love money. And I don't know, I guess money's going to end up being, we'll all pass away with money being thrown in the air for us or something. I don't know. It's terrible how much money has taken over this country.
How much?
Well, and they try to get control of it for the elections. They can't get control of it. They'll pass a law and they'll go around it.
Yeah.
It's been happening over and over.
So they passed the law, Citizens United, so that they can do it now.
Yeah.
Kind of sneakily.
But now...
Is that a word?
How much did Elon Musk donate to the Trump campaign?
Million.
Wasn't it $20 million or something like that?
Was it millions or billions?
It was a lot of money.
I thought it was 1.2 billion, but I may be
I
wrong.
thought it was in the billions
Wow.
too, but I don't know for sure.
I don't know how much, but a lot of people are saying, I mean, the joke on this whole thing was now you can get in the country for $5 million. Maybe Elon should have got a better deal when he bought America.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people feel that's what he's done, is bought America. It's very interesting. What's also interesting is we got to take a break, but we're coming back with more right after this short but important timeout.
Happy birthday, Scott!
Hey, Scott Spears back with Matt Morgan, Glenn Coble, 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, and we learned that Elon Musk, thanks to the power of Google and the internet, donated $288 million to the Trump campaign. So he could have bought citizenship many times over with that kind of dough.
And why are they complaining about, poor people sneaking in once in a while.
Yeah, we need them to work.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what they keep saying. They're needed to do the work that they come in here and do. Yeah, but they can't find work. Look at all the places that can't find anybody to work.
Yeah.
You know, what is Elon Musk? Because here was a guy who you didn't hear a whole lot from during the campaign. He certainly was not front and center. He was at a lot of the rallies, but it was not a name that was rolling off everybody's tongue. Certainly nobody thought he was going to have this type of sway in the government. And, I mean, I certainly would not call him a Republican. I mean, I think Congress has had terrible times with the things that he's doing. What is Elon Musk?
Snake.
A snake.
Snake.
He jumps on the stage ridiculously. I thought he looked so. He's not graceful.
No,
He's not enjoyable to look at. And he's got that little child on his shoulders, which I don't think he should be doing. And yeah, it's just him with his chainsaw.
Glenn, would you call him a Republican?
What I'd call him, you can't say on. You're not supposed to say.
Not say on the
air.
show?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't think of him as a Republican. I wouldn't think of him. I definitely wouldn't think of him as a liberal or a Democrat.
He's not an independent.
He's just a wannabe oligarch. He wants to be the leader of the United States by hook or by crook. It doesn't make any difference.
You know, it's interesting. His approval ratings are lower than Trump's. So
I didn't know
They've got
that.
Musk
Yeah.
approval ratings.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a big part of the government now.
Shouldn't be.
Head of the Doge.
Head of the Doge.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no. I heard today that a lady was now Gretchen somebody or other.
Yeah, he denies being a part of the
Yeah.
Doge, I think. Well, I don't...
Well, you look it up on your phone. It
Wait.
says he's head of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's a lie that he's telling to have us all think we're stupid.
Well, let me tell you, you know, the Fort Knox trip, and he took Musk, and I said, how are they going to let Musk in there? He shouldn't be let in there. And when I was U.S. Treasurer, my husband was not let in there. Now, figure that one out.
I'd drag anybody in there now, I guess.
But they let you in, though.
Oh yeah, I was.
You
in
had to
charge-
make the
I was
coins.
in charge of it, but it was. They quoted to me how one of the general's wives didn't get in, but I thought, why would Musk get in there? You know.
And then the implication that Trump gave that, well, they'd probably open it up and all the money would be gone.
Yeah. Right.
That shows how stupid he is.
Thank goodness it's still there, because I was afraid they were going to sell it a few times. Yeah.
Why did he want to go there? I mean,
Well,
had
he
he
wanted to see it.
but I mean, hadn't he seen it before?
He likes gold.
He likes to go and look at the
He
gold.
does. He likes gold.
Yeah, he
Who
does.
doesn't like gold?
Yeah.
huh?
Well, right, but I
If
mean,
I could see a room full of gold, I'd go look at a room full of gold.
Well, it's fun to look at. Yeah.
but what did Elon Musk want to see?
Well, he probably.
What he's gonna get.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm afraid they're going to get their fingers into it.
well, yeah. Now, Mary Ellen, explain to people what Fort Knox is and why the gold's there,
It's room after room of gold bricks.
and it's backing up our currency.
Well,
Used to be.
yes,
Yeah.
it's our savings account is what it is. And that's the way I always spoke about it to the kids. I said, that's our savings account. But there's also a lot of gold bricks at West Point. That's where my picture was taken, because you can't take pictures at Fort Knox.
Well, before Mary Ellen was the Treasurer of the United States, our currency, tell me if I'm wrong, was on the gold standard, and it even said on the $5 bill,
Way back.
Yeah, way back.
Way back. I think Roosevelt changed
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
What's in Fort Knox, like town-wise? Is there anything interesting there?
It's all gold bricks.
I mean, when you go into the town, is there
Oh,
restaurants and?
Well, that's a military base.
Right.
I thought that's very smart of them to put all that on a military base. They did it at Fort Knox and they did it at West Point. And there's a lot at West Point too. They've got morphine there and for the war. and a lot of other things too.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So they go down and look, and it is there, and I guess that's what it is. But another thing that's went on interesting is that President Trump met with Macron from the leader of France.
Oh, they did actually meet?
Oh, they met.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
They
I
even
thought-
touched each other's
Yeah.
knees.
Yeah.
Well,
I
there's
didn't realize
that.
they had already met.
Oh, they met.
Thought there was...
Well, they met twice now. They met at the Eiffel Tower for dinner. Now, this is
The
interesting.
Eiffel Tower.
Yes. Now, this is interesting because apparently, as Trump explained it, he did not have an interpreter there, and he does not speak French. So I don't
Or
think he
English very
understood what Macron was saying.
Yeah.
But apparently, he was nodding right along. And they went back to the White House where they were having this press conference this week, and Trump was talking about what a smooth talker Macron was, and it's such a beautiful language, but he didn't know what he was saying or what he promised the guy. And it's the truth. I mean,
Yeah,
how
They showed all
they
that.
showed it. I mean,
Yeah.
look at the press conference.
Yeah.
But Trump is sweet talking the guy, though. I mean, he really is. Trump. He does have a way of. This guy is so charming.
Oh,
he's so,
he grabs.
Yeah,
his
he grabs a hold of him.
hand,
Yes.
You know, like
He
this.
does the-
Yeah, he's real. Oh, he really loves him.
He's
you
a
know.
chummy guy.
Yeah,
He's a chummy.
right.
They were chummy, but it wasn't so chummy when Trump started talking about Ukraine and talking about how Europe, including Macron, that it's a loan and we're not loaning them money. And Macron in the press conference said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Yeah.
No, that's not what's going on." And he corrected
He
Trump.
said we're doing the same thing you are.
Yeah, and Trump did not like being corrected. Then it wasn't so chummy anymore after that.
And Trump went like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just said, I don't know if that's exactly
Yeah.
right what you're saying. I don't know.
Well, did you see putting his hand on his Trump put his hand on the French
Yeah.
president's knee
Yeah,
and
he knocked it off.
yeah, he knocked it
He
off.
knocked it off. He didn't want it there. So maybe that's not the thing to be doing with Macron. But I mean, Macron told him. He wasn't afraid of him. He said, well, no, that's not the case.
We are only going to be a better government if our people will tell him the exact truth. That's how it's got to be. Unfortunately, right now, the Republican side of our government, either they're terrified or they're stupid. I'm not quite sure which, or maybe both. But they have got to start saying, wait a minute, that's wrong. Now, we hear all the time talking heads, the news people say, well, a lot of them will admit it privately, but they won't admit it publicly.
Yeah.
They've got to start admitting it publicly, and they've got to start holding him to cast.
Well, I think that,
task.
again, we're taping this Wednesday. I think that kind of happened with Congress's vote on the budget. Because it looked as if it was not going to get done. It did, but the concessions that had to be made are pretty significant. And somebody double check me on this, but I believe the deal is that if $2 trillion is not found in waste in a certain amount of time, that these tax breaks and things that were voted for have to be scaled back. I mean, is that not what you understand, Glenn?
No, actually, I don't understand what they agreed to.
But it was. That's
sorry.
that's what's persuaded the last few that there is a their money has to be found. They cannot create this kind of debt. I believe it's $4 trillion it would add to the national debt.
Yeah, that is.
And the Republicans are not for that. So they're saying if you don't find $2 trillion in waste somewhere, we can't.
So
we're
they're
not.
okay with a $2 trillion?
Well, $2 trillion. Yeah, I mean raising the debt ceiling to what they
we
raised it to.
Just worried about pennies.
Well, I don't know any president who hasn't raised the debt ceiling. I think it's the amount that's a problem here. Mary Ellen, what do you make of this?
I don't think Clinton raised the debt ceiling, did he?
No, he didn't.
Good man.
Well,
He was.
I don't think he had to.
this is what I think. If Trump's popularity keeps going down, those Republicans are going to start realizing that he can't do anything to them.
Right.
If he loses his popularity, that would be our solution to all of
The
this.
saving grace.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why Elon is there, is to be the buffer so that Trump can say, well, that was him doing that. I wouldn't have done that. It hadn't come to that yet, but I think it will.
Well, a lot of people say Medicaid's on the chopping block because of
Yeah.
the new budget. And I'll tell you, I saw the number today, 1 in 5 people are on Medicaid.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
in 5.
Yeah,
And they're the poorest.
A lot of these people are in nursing homes.
Yeah.
That's
too.
right.
And I'll tell you, it's going to be terrible when they start doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the front page of the USA Today today.
Yeah.
1 in 5 people are on Medicaid in this country, and because of
Yeah.
that, and people don't realize that the Republicans passed a budget last night that could put this in jeopardy. Now they
Yeah.
keep saying it didn't.
Yeah, but
But
you wait and see.
We'll wait and
Yeah,
see.
Right.
That's exactly right. What do you think, Matt?
Well, I mean, I think that cutting a social program that 1 in 5 people are on is probably not the best idea that one could have.
Well, what are they going to do? They gave so much money to the military. They gave a lot more money to the immigration issue, which is they got to cut somewhere. They got to cut something.
How much did they expand into immigration?
I don't have the number in front of me,
Well,
but
they're
you can look it up.
paying like an enormous amount of money for those military planes to take the
Yeah.
immigration
That's
people
right.
out.
Yeah.
And
About
that
5 times.
wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
And then they can't take them to.
Guantanamo.
No, they
Guantanamo.
said they can't take them there now.
No.
I heard that today.
No, they're not taking them there.
I never thought that was going to be I always thought that was one of those Trump scare things that, if you don't let me do what I want to do, I'm going to put people in
Yeah.
Guantanamo Bay,
Yeah.
which didn't happen. But it's a very interesting thing to watch what's going on in the government right now, and we'll see what happens on the long term.
Sorry, I'm bleeding. I have to.
You're bleeding.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well,
That's what happens when you're
you might
blood
need
thinners.
you might need medical.
Yeah.
I don't know. The budget's passed, but I don't think the Republicans are super happy with it at all.
But they got to do something about it. To in the back room say I'm not happy with that doesn't do a hill of beans.
Well, I think that's why they wanted that catch in there, that if you don't find this money, then we're not going along with this
I'll
past
tell you
budget.
what catch they ought to have. If we don't find the money, you go to jail.
Well,
And they're not going to do that.
No.
no. Well, no. So here we are. The Republicans are not turning on Trump. So what's the end game? Do we wait 2 years? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. We've been in the Clinton era somewhat during this episode. Let's go to James Carville because he's making. It seems like every time you turn around, for some reason, he's making news. The Ragin' Cajun is what they call him. Clinton's political strategist, the man who was responsible for the economy stupid.
Did you-
saying,
Did you meet him? Did you know him?
Yeah, I know him. I went to his restaurant. Yeah, he's got
Privately, I'd like to hear what you really think of him.
not much.
Well, there you go. You didn't,
That's exactly what
didn't
I
have to
thought.
wait. So there you go.
I'm right out with that one.
Yeah. But Carville this week got on television and he said that the Republicans are going to implode in 30 days. That this budget doesn't work for them. The approval ratings of the president are falling. It's not sustainable to keep on going this way. And that the Democrats are going to see this. I think he said 30 days to 6 weeks. That the Republicans will implode. Do you think the Republicans are heading for an implosion with what they're doing?
Well, I think it would be nice, but we've heard this type of rhetoric for quite a long time. Oh, they're going to fall apart in 2 weeks, and nothing happens. I mean, I don't think you put a time limit on it. I think you just keep work. I think the Democrats just have to keep working at it and keep saying, listen, this guy's not going to do you any favors. And by the way, it's the poor people that are getting killed by what they're doing.
But it is interesting to me that the Democrats who go out and speak right now are getting zero traction. I mean, if you like
I wouldn't say zero.
No, I don't think that's
No.
true.
I don't either.
Why do you say that?
what I would say
They are getting pushback.
I felt the cold wind there. The cold wind. I thought maybe I'll retract my statement. The cold
both-
wind
I
was
mean,
coming.
you
From
got
both
a reason
sides.
for
I
saying
will.
that.
And I think a lot of people have said this on television and in private, that the Democrats that go out there are the ones who we've seen for a long, long time, and they seem to be saying the same things, but they're not in power, so they can't do anything. So them going out there and saying everything's a travesty, if everything's a travesty, nothing's a travesty.
A lot of these town hall meetings right now are going against the Democrats as well as the Republicans.
Wait,
They're
what's-
demanding that the Democrats get us Get a spine.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I say this is, yes, Trump's ratings are going down. Yes, Elon Musk's ratings are lower than Trump. But you know what else is true in this time of peril for the country, which most people believe we're in? The Democrats' approval ratings at an all-time low. It doesn't seem as if they should be gaining traction in this time.
When I was running for office, everybody came up to me and said, all politicians are crooked. And I would say to them, I'm not crooked. You can take my word to the bank. And I stood by that. And there are a lot of people like me that were running for office. I don't know any Republicans that are like me, but I knew a lot of Democrats that were like me. You can believe, but you gotta have a backbone, and you gotta ask them the questions and demand that they answer them. We don't do that right now.
These crowds that are out there, they're not all Republicans.
No, you're right. They are Democrats.
Yeah, there are Democrats in those crowds too.
Well, this brings us to Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
Jane Fonda got a Lifetime Achievement Award at the SAG Awards this
Yeah.
past week. Now, Jane Fonda said something very interesting. Lifelong Democrat who's gotten in trouble in her career for Vietnam and things that she did. She's had to pay a lot in her career. But she said in her acceptance speech, she talked a little bit about her career, but essentially what she said was, we need empathy in this country right now.
We do.
And we need to open, and she's speaking as a Democrat, we need to open up our tent as widely as possible to the people who maybe we don't agree with. We've got to have empathy for them as well, because poorer Republicans and Republicans who don't like Donald Trump are going to be affected by this too, and they need to be allowed to come into the Democratic tent. And I think that's what she feels is not happening.
Well, you probably remember on my show, when I had my show,
Yes.
almost every day that I talked, I said, we have to open our ears. And that's what they're not doing. Amy Klobuchar, she hears people. There are 2 or 3 others that really listen to people. Just because you listen to them, you have to show them some respect. You can't listen to them and say you're wrong. Listen to them and say, I'll look into that. Let's talk about that.
But she also talked about the older group too. She said, who cares what age you are? She said, I'm in my late 80s and I've had a bout with cancer recently and I'm still out there.
Who are we talking
Jane
about?
Fonda said
okay,
that.
yeah.
You know, I thought that was interesting too, because there is this idea of just, if you're from yesteryear, we don't need you. I think Jane Fonda's 88, something like that at this point.
That's what they say.
And she's saying, I'm still out there.
Yeah.
I'm still out there.
Well, she sure looks good.
Yeah.
She's,
Boy, I loved that dress she had on. Yeah.
I bet it was expensive.
Yeah, I bet it was, but boy, she looked good. Yeah.
and she gave a great speech.
Yes, she did.
Well, one of the things that people don't know, I was in the service. I was in the Army during Vietnam in '68 when she went to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And many of my friends hated her from that moment.
Yeah.
And I never hated her because I thought she was at least raising some points. I
Yeah.
mean, she was at least talking.
But
We
she
were
regretted.
doing-
She said she regretted
I'm
it
sure
later in
she
life.
did because
Yeah.
she didn't do it well. But she did do it, and she did it because she thought she was helping the cause of the relationship, I think.
For people who don't remember what she did, and there could be those people watching this, tell people what she did.
Well, she went to Vietnam
And an actress. She was an actress.
as an actress.
Yeah.
And I think it was '68, and she actually sat on an anti-aircraft gun.
and knocked America on Vietnam soil.
Yeah, she basically said America shouldn't be here, and there were a lot of us in the Army that agreed with it.
But a lot-
Probably thought that
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a
didn't
lot
say
of
it.
people just didn't
Yeah.
like her saying it in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they would have been okay if she'd have said it here, but if there was a problem there. But she did say it, and I think that's right. I don't think it matters what age you are at this point. I don't think it matters what party you're in. If you're against some of the things that are going on, there's still time.
I still love Barbarella. The
Well,
movie, the dirty movie that she made.
Oh, what was it?
Barbarella.
Barbara.
It wasn't really a dirty movie. It was a sci-fi movie, and there was a couple of really hot scenes.
you want to
Yeah.
write that name of that down, Beck? When you're watching the Monica Lewinsky movie, you can look
gotta
up
see that
Barbarella. That's going to be a whole thing for you on the history of this country. It's a whole...
There's one scene that when we come back next week or 2 weeks from now, you will thank me for.
Oh, dear Lord. Well, I'll take your word for it. Glenn, I don't think I've ever seen Barbarella.
You haven't seen Barbarella?
No,
Oh,
I have
you've
not
gotta
seen
see
Barbarella.
Yeah.
I doubt that I have. I'll have to check it out.
Well, there we go. It'll be
Let's just have a watch party.
we'll come back and we'll eat Stewart's and watch Barbarella. It'll be quite the event.
I'd be really embarrassed if you watched it. Because of me.
We'd watch a movie and we'd shut the door at Primrose so other people couldn't.
Well, my wife wouldn't watch it with me.
Wouldn't she?
It's that bad.
Oh, it gets raunchy.
Really?
Well, you got our curiosity.
Now you get the curiosity up about what went on in
We're
Barbarella.
gone
She
home
makes
and look
love
it
with
up.
a machine, so
She what?
What?
she makes love while she's in a machine. So we'll
Oh,
just,
I haven't seen that.
yeah.
No.
I remember that.
Excuse me, I got to go out to the car.
Blood's squirting out. Your heart's pumping so much now. I don't know what in the world's going on. Let me say this in this segment. In our final segment today, I want to talk about the governor's race here in Ohio because that's coming together. But before we talk about this is one of the other things I want to say about the Democrats of why I made the statement I did. I would have guessed with what's going on in the country that I'm not saying it would have totally flipped Ohio around to a different thing, but still, Ohio is giving much more attention to the Republican candidates. Everybody seems to feel a Republican's going to win the gubernatorialship. A lot can happen in 2 years, but they still feel that way, even under the economy and what's $8 eggs and so on and so forth. I would have thought that places like Ohio, Midwest, I mean, we're right next door to Pennsylvania, which can go Democrat, Michigan, places like this. It's strange to me that even though the popularity of Trump is going down, even in places like Ohio, the Democrats' popularity is not going up. And that's what I don't understand. There's something wrong there. And I don't know what it is.
I fault the
I
Democratic Party.
What is it?
I don't want to say.
You don't want to say. But you know what's wrong with the...
Tell us
I didn't-
afterwards. Okay?
Yeah,
well,
I'll tell you
during the break we'll learn.
afterwards. Yeah.
But Matt, what do you make of this? Why is the Democrats' popularity not going up even though Trump and Musk is going down?
In Ohio or on a national
No,
level?
both.
As far as Ohio goes, I think that every time you have Amy Acton, she's running for governor. But what has Amy Acton done other than announce she's running for governor? I haven't heard that she's going anywhere. I haven't heard that she's doing anything. I haven't heard any speeches, no rallies, nothing like that.
You know what's strange about? I'll tell you this about Amy Acton. This dawned on me, and I do want to have a conversation about this gubernatorial because something happened right before we came on here that was kind of interesting. But you know what's odd to me? Yost announced this week. Vivek Ramaswamy announced. Tressel became lieutenant governor. There was a front page story on the Columbus Dispatch about how he might run for governor. When Acton announced, she didn't even do it at a rally. She didn't even do it in front of people.
No.
She did it with the Associated Press. I mean, the Associated Press is supposed to cover your announcement. That's not where you're supposed to make your announcement. I mean, isn't that a problem, Mary Ellen?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why that happens. I'm sure she could have found a crowd somewhere.
I'm not sure Mary Ellen will say this, but I'm going to say it. The Democratic leadership in Ohio is weak.
Yes, I've said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But when you run for office, you got to really work hard,
Yeah.
and I don't see it happening.
Now, as Matt said, where is she?
Yeah.
I mean, people are making their announcements and getting great press.
Well, Swazi's gone all over the state.
Well, Colleen Marshall called in Tuesday this week, and we had a long conversation about the gubernatorial race. And Vivek Ramaswamy announced on Monday and already had an interview scheduled with her Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, they have structure.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why the Democrats don't have structure. And maybe it's
That is the Democratic Party. We are weak in structure. We tend to be people who have lots of empathy, but very little structure to their empathy. We don't work hard at telling the other side that they're full of crap.
You know what's strange to me? Listen, I'll tell you something about one, and I want to go to Mary Ellen on this.
Sure.
One thing about the Democratic Party that I think is very silly, and I've seen it happen over and over, is that the current group of Democrats do not ask successful Democrats who are still around, who did things, their advice. They almost write it off. And
And they don't ask for their
correct.
help.
why is that, Mary Ellen?
I don't know.
It's a mistake.
It is a mistake.
I mean, I certainly...
I asked Mary Ellen.
Yeah, when people should. But I mean, I do not understand. I mean, people can look at these examples. The truth is the truth. You have Democrats who won office in Ohio. Well, Mary Ellen, you won 3 times in Ohio as state treasurer. You won statewide office. I mean, how many people come to... And you about ran for governor. Had you not got the job with Clinton, you would have run for governor. How many people have come to you and said, how do you win statewide?
Nobody lately. I mean, it's been quite a while since anybody's asked for my advice.
Well, I'll say this. Every treasurer, everybody who runs for the treasurer as a Democrat in Ohio, and there'll be one this year, we don't know who it is yet, but why wouldn't you ask? That was your job, Mary Ellen. You won that.
I have volunteered information to Scott. I talked to him about what he needed to do. And I offered my help, which he didn't use at all. But it's going to be interesting to see if he does run.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what he said that last time I spoke with him. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But that to me, that's criminal. And I'm not trying to come down on Mayor Schertzer. I'm just saying, former Mayor Schertzer. But good Lord, you're from the same city that the former treasurer is from.
He
who
worked for me.
Worked for you.
Yeah.
And you offered your advice. He didn't take it. You offered your help. He didn't take. I mean, that is a bonehead move. I'm sorry. That's just not smart.
I got the opposite side of that. I asked for his help, and he said, of course, and never did anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but Matt, I mean, why do people not take advice from people who won? That's who you need to talk to.
I don't know. I think that a lot of the, I mean, I don't know how it is in the politics, but I mean, like a lot of the times when you give people information in general, they just feel like they know better. They're like, no, I think this will do better.
Well, ask them the day after the election.
Yeah.
They don't know better that day.
You would think the logic of talking to somebody who's been there and done it and knows how to win would work. But I think that a lot of people do just think that they can do it.
You guys have given me a great idea for my little organization we call Citizens for Democracy, and it's not a little group anymore. We're well over 30. We might even be over 40 now.
Oh, good.
We had a huge influx once the politics started coming out.
Really?
One of the things I'm going to suggest to them we have a weekly meeting on Saturdays. If you want to come, contact me and I'll tell you where it is. On Saturday, I think I will bring up the idea of maybe we get a task force of people like Mary Ellen, of people that have been successful.
Ted Strickland.
Ted
He's one.
Strickland would be great, yeah. And,
Dick Celeste.
and
He visits the state periodically.
what was the gentleman's name that you really liked that ran for governor?
Chris, Rich Cordray.
Yeah,
Cordray.
Cordray.
Here's-
Maybe
he
getting
won-
Cordray.
he
We
won
could
office.
get a good dozen people that have done it and done it
And won.
successfully, and just use them as a helping stone to current people that want, like Tracy and people like that, who probably don't know these names because it's people that you and I know because it's 10 years back. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? Longevity is no mistake. I mean,
No.
if you've lasted and you survived, that's something. I mean, just being able to be there and be continually successful is important. And I don't care what anybody's age is. That's it. To sidestep that is just dumb. I mean, you don't have to take every bit of advice, but good Lord,
That's interesting.
some.
It's interesting you bring that up. And I'm going to ask Mary Ellen if she has the same problem. I have a problem. I'm 78 years old. I don't think of myself as old, but I am 78 years old. And I have a feeling that all the young bucks that are running for office think all my intelligence and all my background are a waste of time.
And we're going to get the answer to Mary Ellen's. And we're going to get Mary Ellen. This is a good hook. For our last segment, we got one more segment coming back, and we're going to have Mary Ellen answer that question that Glenn just asked. And we're going to talk about the Ohio governor's race because there was an interesting development not too long before we went on the air to tape this tonight. Not surprising, but it is a development. We'll be right back after this.
Happy birthday, Scott!
And we're back here on our last segment of the Exchange this week, joined by Glenn Coble, Matt Morgan, 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow. As we went to break, Glenn was asking a question about
young people.
Well, yeah, that you give. I'm trying to think of how you phrase. When you give advice to young people, people look at you and say you're older and it doesn't matter.
Nah,
and,
you don't know what
And
you're
does
doing.
Mary Ellen feel that way? Mary Ellen, how do you feel about that?
Well, things have changed a lot since we were in office. There's a lot of different factors there that, like even the computer, there was nothing going on with Facebook when I was in office. And the phones and everything have taken over with campaigning. And I really think that's why they don't ask us. I don't, and I also think that we are older, and but I think we could be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know
I
what?
do
I'll
too.
tell you the
Yeah.
thing is, older does work. I mean, there are, I guess, cases that you guys are talking about here where it doesn't work to your advantage, but there are cases where it does. And I think almost 365 days. Interesting we're having this conversation because the 31st anniversary of you being sworn in as Treasurer of the United States is coming up Saturday, March the 1st.
Yeah.
Last year, we did the big 30th anniversary thing, went to all the schools, thousands of kids,
of
who
kids.
were not a one of them born when Mary Ellen was in office, all showed up, were highly interested, wanted autographs. They were introduced to Mary Ellen for the first time, I think, a lot of those kids.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old she is or how old somebody is. You got to reintroduce people, and that's what the Democrats aren't doing. And that's what you can do with phones and things.
But I think what we did was very effective.
It certainly was.
I had a lot of remarks from parents and kids too, that appreciated it. Yeah.
Well, and I think that it's very interesting to me because kids of that age, high school kids, so we're talking 14 to 18 years old, they probably are not looking at politics as closely as somebody else, but when they hear, I love to tell this story, and I'm going to tell it again. There was a girl who worked at the Jersey who was, I think, 16 years old. Couldn't have been any more than that, right, Matt? At River Valley, we took questions from the audience. The auditorium, 800 strong. I mean, it was filled that morning.
It was filled, yeah.
So we went to one of the kids, and they said they found out about Mary Ellen's autograph being in the Guinness Book of World Records, and they said, "Can we get an autograph?" And Mary Ellen politely said yes, but there are 800 kids in there. Now, I think Mary Ellen thought, as I thought, that, well, maybe we'll get 30 or some. The line just kept coming, kids out of class, and it was, nobody can sign forever like that. So we decided at one point to start we'll run it off and give it, and then they can get a picture with Mary Ellen, and that'll be nice. This girl comes up to me with a dollar bill in her hand, and she goes, Is Mary Ellen still signing money? And I said, no, but you can get a picture. And she looked like I'd broken her heart. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, I work at the Jersey here in town, and when I found out Mary Ellen was coming, I went through all the money that I was dealing with last night to find a dollar bill with her name on it so I could get her to sign it. So we, of course, let her go back and get it signed when everybody else had left. But the point of that story to me is, this girl knew that Mary Ellen was coming. She Googled her, probably would not have if you weren't coming to the school, learned about who you were, learned about the signature, learned about your name on the money, went through because it's a little difficult to find a dollar bill at this point with your name on it, found one, brought it to school, and looked like her heart was broken if she wasn't going to get it signed. That's what can happen when you are effective, no matter how old you are. Mm-hmm. Plus, you gave a great speech. The speech, it was the speech, the same speech.
My speech I gave.
Which is a tremendous speech.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, and I will say this, the FDR breakfast, we used to cover that in the media in Marion. I don't think it even happens anymore.
I don't think they're having it. Are they?
I think so. I think
Are
they?
I think
Are
I
they?
just saw it.
Oh,
I
well.
haven't seen a thing.
No, and I didn't get an invitation.
But I think it's more...
They usually invite the media to that.
Yeah.
I think it was basically a Republican function.
No, this is FDR.
No,
yeah, I know, but I think
it's
that,
it's a
I think it
Democratic.
was involved with the President's Day. I don't know. Maybe
There's a Harding dinner that the Republicans
Maybe
have.
that was what I
But
was
the
thinking.
FDR dinner used to happen in February. and it was a big event
Yes,
here in
it
Marion.
was. Yeah.
And it's happened,
Yeah.
I think the last time was probably 2020, 2018, something like that. But you know what? Why in Marion isn't there the Mary Ellen Withrow breakfast? I mean, you would think at this...
Okay, let's start.
Well, I mean... No, but I mean...
We'll see you there tomorrow.
No, but somebody should do something. I mean, I don't understand why. I mean, good Lord, we hear enough about Harding, which is not bad, but I mean, that's what the Republicans use in Marion as their, I guess, North Star. I don't understand. I don't know why the FDR breakfast went away.
I don't either.
But I do want to talk about the gubernatorial race because the news that we got, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy in, but President Trump has officially endorsed
Has he?
Vivek Ramaswamy right before we went on the air tonight, leaving any... But there were doubters that said, well, he's going to wait and see if Tressel gets in and then he'll make his endorsement. No, it took about 2 days, and Trump has endorsed Vivek Ramaswamy. So that's his guy. And people who think Jim Tressel can go toe-to-toe with Ramaswamy with Trump getting the endorsement, I don't know about that.
There's a lot of people who like football in Ohio.
Yeah, there sure are.
I think that's. You wait and see how popular Trump is 6 months from now.
I think that. I mean, I said this morning when Scott was on was on air. I think that so long as Trump's word carries weight in Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy will win that race. I don't think that Jim Tressel can outdo the Trump endorsement.
But I think Mary Ellen brought up a good point. In 6 months, his
Yeah.
name may not sway much.
That's why I
But-
said so long as it holds weight.
But I think one of the problems is that Tressel now is aligned with DeWine, who does not have a high approval rating himself. So I'm not...
Which one, Tressel or DeWine?
Well, I mean, Tressel, as far as I know, is still popular.
I
But,
think a lot of people like Tressel.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
popular.
oh, I think he's popular. I
He's
just
very
think...
convenient, very nice man.
Yeah.
I just
You
think
meet him.
Ramaswamy would not get in this if he did not think that he could win. And,
Oh, the man ran for president.
right, but...
Yeah, but he is not. He's a foreigner as far as I'm concerned.
That could be a problem, especially in rural areas.
It could be, and Tressel is not a foreigner.
He's a homeboy.
Yes.
But can Amy Acton get in on this? Because that's going to be a
not
prize.
if
issue.
she doesn't try.
She's got to start doing
Yeah,
something.
that's right.
You know.
And are any other Democrats going to run? I'm curious to see what they're waiting on. Because everybody's announcing, got to start raising that money.
It's kind of interesting. Now, if my wife hears this, I'll get in trouble. But I can't tell you how many people in the last month since Trump has taken over have said, you've got to get back in. And
Really?
I'm not going to get back in. I'm
Yeah, but
too
you
old.
get back in running
to
for office.
run for office. And they don't care what I run for. Some of them have told me, well, just...
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, run for councilman or something. You know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't want to do that anymore.
It's only 2
You
years.
don't live in Marion. Do you live in Marion?
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I thought you lived in the county.
I live in 6...
Independence
In the
have till
six.
May.
yeah.
Well, there's a girl running, the black girl's running for at large.
Okay.
She ran 3, this is her 3rd time.
Yeah.
I never can remember.
Dana.
her.
Dana.
Dana, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know about. You'd have to run as an independent because the Democratic date has passed. But I don't know. You got till May. I think you could
I
be
don't want
persuaded.
to.
I think you could be persuaded.
I cannot be persuaded.
You don't think?
No.
Really?
No. I will help
Well.
somebody else, like I helped Tracy last time.
Yeah.
I helped Leslie.
Nobody could twist your
River.
arm hard enough to get you to run.
No.
Really?
Put some money on it.
I don't know.
Have to be millions.
Here's what I'm going to say about the governor's race. Back to that is that Tressel did have a scandal, and the more
Yeah.
I think about that scandal, I don't know if people have forgotten it, and I think that.
I don't know what scandal you're talking about, so...
Well, it was about 15 years ago. But, I mean, he was let go from Ohio. Well, he resigned because they were going to fire him. And that scandal was on the front of Sports Illustrated. It was a national scandal.
Cheating.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Sort of.
He lied.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the whole thing with the students that were
Yeah.
selling things?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
can be certain that Ramaswamy is going to play that card each and every time he
course.
can, and you can also be certain that Ramaswamy is going to hit Mike DeWine and align those two as close as he can, because it seems like every time a Trump candidate, J.D. Vance or Bernie Moreno, is in against a Mike DeWine camp, they just say you're with Mike DeWine, you're nothing. You know, you're old guard. You're, what do they call them? Republicans who aren't
Yeah, I
really
think that's it.
Republicans.
I can't say that.
Oh,
on
rhinos.
here.
Rhinos. Yeah, they call them
Republicans
rhinos.
in name only.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't know. But you know what? Tressel's not even in yet. So who knows? Maybe he won't get in.
It might not.
I don't know. With
Politics is a tough game.
Ramaswamy's got a
Oh,
lot of money.
Definitely tough. Yeah.
Oh,
You know-
well,
Here's what I think.
former farmer man.
But here's I guess what my point is in that if Tressel, and he would have to speak negatively, let's say Trump's ratings go down in Ohio, approval ratings. Can Tressel say something negative about Donald Trump
Sure.
in Ohio and get elected?
Well, it depends on, they're not going to be so in love with Trump a few years from now. I mean, maybe even months.
Yeah.
I swear it's going to happen.
Well, that's
How
what.
steep is the graph going
Right.
down?
But what I guess all I'm saying is, my final word on this, is just that this is a Republican primary. In Ohio, we have closed primaries.
Yeah.
So the people who will settle the Ramaswamy, Dave Yost, Jim Tressel primary are not Democrats. Those are Republicans. Those are the Trumpist of the Trump. And I think that Dave Yost and Jim Tressel are more closely aligned than Ramaswamy. I think Ramaswamy, and I think that's why Trump has endorsed him 48 hours out of the get-go to say, listen, I'm not for Yost, I'm not for Tressel, Ramaswamy's my guy. So now, what does Mike DeWine do? Endorse Tressel? Does he endorse the Attorney General Yost? I think they'll probably split the vote, and I think Ramaswamy could slip through because Trump has said, I'm the guy. This is the guy, Ramaswamy. I don't know. That's just my theory on it.
Yeah. Well, it's a theory. We'll see.
What do you think, Matt? Do you think Yost... Because Yost has just basically... I don't know. He's danced around these people getting in. He just says, well, they're in. I think Yost thought he would be the front runner, and now he's...
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
If I had my choice as to who would head the Republican ticket, it would be Yost.
I don't think at this point he's
I don't-
got much of a...
No, I don't think it will be Yost, but like I said, if I had my choice as to
But who do you
would
think
be-
he's going to pull Republican voters from? Ramaswamy
Oh,
or,
like
or Tressel?
I mean, I think that there is a better chance that he pulls voters from Tressel. I think that the Trump people are probably going to vote for Ramaswamy.
And I'm only saying that because of the last gubernatorial election. They did primary Mike DeWine. What's his name? Can't think of his name. They were both on the show. The cowboy from Columbus, and the guy who'd run against Sherrod Brown for senator. They both ran in that primary against. They were the anti-Mike DeWine. They were the Trump guys. But the problem was they split the vote. Mike DeWine did not even get 50% of the vote in the Republican primary, the sitting governor. But it was the anti-Trump, it was the Trump people, the anti-DeWine people. There were two of them. So they split that vote and DeWine won the primary. So I think that's what, I don't see anybody being the Trump candidate other than Ramaswamy, and I think that's why Trump has already endorsed him. But the DeWine group is going to be Yost and Tressel, but who knows? But with Amy Acton better do something. I guess that's the bottom line. I don't know what she's doing.
Well, if the Democrats want to win, they better have her do something. Now, Ramaswamy has, I think, a problem. He ran for president and didn't do so well, but his name sounds so foreign
Yeah.
in your ear
Yeah.
that there are going to be people that will vote against him. He could be the Jesus Christ incarnate, and they would vote against him because his name sounds
That's
foreign.
right. That's right. A lot of people vote that way.
Yeah, they do.
They go down, they look at a name that looks good to them, and they vote for that person.
John Smith?
Yeah.
I'll vote for him.
Yeah.
Ramaswamy?
Yeah.
You know what else is surprising to me about this gubernatorial race? The only person who has declared their candidacy that has ever run for office and got elected is Yost.
Yeah.
And he's the least popular.
How do you know that?
Well, I certainly think the Ramaswamy announcement got much more attention. and
It
he's
got more attention, but you don't know.
right. Maybe
If
Yost.
they voted today, maybe Yost would win.
Maybe I guess it's interesting to me how the media. I mean, front page of Columbus Dispatch, and Tressel hasn't announced will he run. Ramaswamy was on the front page of the Dispatch today, announces his candidacy. When Yost announced, it was okay, here he is.
Well, I think they expected him to.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that's it.
They did. They expected him to.
I think people like people who are not involved in politics for whatever reason. Because Ramaswamy, I guess my point there was Ramaswamy, Acton, and Tressel, they really have no government experience.
Well, I think it's what Glenn said earlier. I mean, like one of the like he said that when he was running for office, everybody would come up to him and be like, "All politicians are crooked." So I think that I think that a lot of people are like, not a politician. That'd be a good politician.
Well, maybe but see, isn't that exactly the problem? Didn't it used to be the person? Are you qualified for the job? Well, I guess that's out the window.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, let's find out the least qualified person for the job, and they get the most votes. It's a very odd time, and I don't
look at Trump's cabinet right now.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're speaking about.
Yeah, but what in the world has changed in the last 30 years, Mary Ellen? Because when people were coming to you about running for governor, it was because you had won 3 successful races in Ohio. You had experience. Now, apparently that would be a bad thing.
I think it's
Hard
only
to
happened
tell.
Yeah.
I think it's only happened since Trump got into the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's
Really?
not super popular.
No, but I think he has left a bad taste in people's mouths for politicians.
Yeah.
We don't have guys like, Clinton, who had his own problem. But we had good people. Jimmy Carter, good person. People don't like him, good people anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
People want to be entertained.
Jeez.
People like entertainment.
That's not what politics is all about. Politics is about helping the people that live in your area.
And caring about everybody, not just the millionaires and billionaires.
And especially caring for the poor people, I
Yes,
think.
because
They need the help.
they need help. They're going to need more help, I think, the way it sounds.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that I find about this gubernatorial race is the money that's in it. I mean, Ramaswamy's many times over a millionaire.
Well, Ramaswamy was a former, I think he was founder of a big pharmaceutical company. So he's probably got a good couple $1 billion.
Oh, lots of money, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to wonder, though, how that's all going to taper out. I mean, it's a lot of talk right now, but we haven't seen any debates. We haven't seen any type of primary yet. We won't see much of that till the end of this year. Primary will be next year. But it's I don't know. I don't know where people want. Maybe you got to wait and see how it's all going to shake out.
The debates you will see now is how much cash does he have, as far as I'm concerned. It just seems like we've gone away from the ability of a person to be honest, caring, sincere, and gone to how many $1 billion do you have?
Glenn, where do you think we're headed?
I think we're headed to hell, quite frankly.
Well, there you go.
I'm really scared to death. I have troubles at night sleeping because I see all the autocratic tendencies in our government right now.
So you think we really are headed toward a dictatorship, autocrat-run government?
I think the American people are showing their guts right now and saying they don't want that. And I think that might save us. I think the American people are fed up with money and people, big-mouthed money people.
What do you think, Matt? Where are we headed?
It's gonna be a rough 4 years. I mean, we're certainly not heading up and up. I can tell you that much. I mean, we've alienated our European allies. We've alienated our North American allies. We're chumming it up with
There are some people that have, yeah.
But we're chumming it up with Russia and people like that. So I mean, it's certainly not looking good.
Do you think people thought this is what they were voting for?
Oh no! You see, I think that everybody just Donald Trump was I think the most popular thing I heard was, oh, that's just Donald Trump campaigning.
Yep.
That's just campaign talk.
Well, here we are, 30 days in, 30 plus days in. Mary Ellen, where do you think we're headed?
I think Trump is headed to the dumpster.
Good.
I really do. You listen to these crowds, they're mad.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, when people get fired and they lose their job and they don't have any money, it's not going to be a pretty picture. I don't know how this is going to end, but it's certainly starting out. All you see is Trump sitting there signing all these things he's signing that are ridiculous, and nothing, he hasn't done anything he said he was going to do. He was going to take care of the cost of living and everything, and the cost of groceries, and that hasn't happened, and he was going to stop the war, and that's been a month ago. It's still going on. People are losing trust in him, and they should.
Well, I think that might ultimately be his undoing, that I even saw a pretty heavy duty Trump person on social media today say, if another person comes up to me and says that there wasn't inflation before Trump, that they were going to go crazy. And I think there was inflation before Trump, but it hasn't gone down. And that's that. As a matter of fact, it's gone up.
Yeah.
So that's it's not that there wasn't inflation before Trump. Clearly there was. We had a pandemic. There were some things that happened there. But that the price of eggs or groceries or whatever you want to say has gone down, that hasn't happened. And ultimately, that's where people, if they can't get their tax return back quick as they want it.
Can you imagine firing people in the IRS before the taxes are due? I think they don't think what they're doing. It's so strange.
Well, they certainly are not tactical in what they're doing.
I don't think they know what government is.
Well, that's why I say I can't believe, because Trump was president once, 4 years.
But he didn't do anything.
No, but he
didn't do anything about COVID or didn't do anything otherwise.
No, but it did seem like during the first term that he did put people in positions who knew something, and he also was a little... Yeah, but he also was a little more calculated about what he was doing, so he would stay somewhat popular. This, as you said, this is tactically off. I mean,
Yes.
He's doing things that are going to get in his own way.
Yeah.
And even when he does do something that's bipartisan, like the Lincoln-Riley Act, or the in vitro, having certain insurances cover the IVF, you don't hear about it because there is so many other things going on. Elon Musk has become a name that everybody knows because he's on television as much as Trump is.
Mm-hmm.
I think eventually that's going to get to him, because if one thing we all know about Donald Trump, he does not like to be shown up. And I think eventually he will not like Elon Musk getting all this attention.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. The two of them were talking, and Musk was talking over him, and you could see in his eyes that, okay, you better stop that.
Another thing that's happened, what about Bannon? He's been put in a sideshow.
And he doesn't like that.
No, he doesn't like that, and I'll bet he's fit to be tied.
Well, he said some very negative things about Musk.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe that he's running the right show there. And where is J.D. Vance, our vice president?
Well, he's overseas somewhere,
Yeah,
isn't
he is.
he?
But what happened to him? Where's his place in this government? I thought it was going to be a two-man show, and
Well, I think Musk has taken his place.
you know,
I think J.D. Vance is just a glorified vote breaker.
did he help though? I don't know.
I don't think he'd helped at all.
That choice to me is still puzzling. Why you would pick somebody from a state that you were likely to win anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't ever understand that, why he chose him. But you know, whatever.
They said it was his son's choice, Don Jr.
You know, that's interesting. Somebody said recently that one of the reasons he will not endorse J.D. Vance, or even allude to it, is to leave the door open for one of his kids.
Oh,
I think that's
well,
possible.
he wants the third term himself.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Yeah.
There's that idea
Can
out
you
there.
believe that?
Yeah, they put a thing forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, haven't they also said something about putting him on some money?
Yes.
On some
Yeah.
money.
Oh,
What
gosh.
do you mean on some
What
money?
what were they going to
oh.
put him on?
It was a coin, wasn't it, Glenn?
That's-
No, I thought it was the $10 bill.
Oh, was it the
wasn't
$10 bill?
I-
They're gonna put
that's-
him on dollars.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a woman put on.
Yeah.
That was a
Harry Tubman?
$20 bill.
Oh yeah, that was. The one.
Yeah, that was the $20
$20
bill, and that was you were
Harry
about to.
Tubman?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tubman, but yeah, well, interesting. Well, have the pennies gone by the wayside?
I don't
Not
think
yet.
so. I don't
Not
think
yet?
so. Well, see, now that, in the end, do you believe there is this great waste in the federal government?
Oh yeah, I
She
think there's
knows.
waste.
But I mean, to the numbers that they're
Oh
talking.
no, I mean you've got to go about it systematically.
Yeah.
You can't do it the way they're doing it. It's a mess.
What do you make of the $5,000 refund checks that they have talked about giving?
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's from this savings they say they're having because of saving money by making the government more efficient.
He's trying to change the popularity.
Yeah, he'll say, if you send everybody a $5,000 check.
And then you
Oh
like
come
it.
on!
That's what they're talking about.
Oh my gosh!
It all comes down to money, doesn't it?
Hey, $5,000. I'll take
Yeah,
a free
and
$5,000. I
money's
guess.
behind
Why
everything.
not?
Yeah.
But see, that's how people think, though. That's
Yeah.
how people think. They want $5,000, and I'm sure, just like with the COVID checks, Trump's signature would be right on those.
I never heard that yet.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I don't know that it'll happen.
Well, I don't think that's
a lot
going
of
to happen.
that's a lot of money.
I think the Republicans in Congress, that's what they're ultimately. I think they can't see that. They just can't see.
I think
They're having problems with the finances.
I think that the saving grace in Congress has to be the fact that Donald Trump's popularity keeps falling. Because so long as his popularity keeps falling and the odds that siding with him looks more and more like career suicide, then I think the less and less people will ultimately continue to support him in the Congress and in the Senate.
That'll cost $1.65 trillion to do that, or billion.
E9. So billion, I think.
Well,
It'll cost a lot of money.
Yeah, lots of money.
I just, weren't the Republicans for a long time talking about being the party of fiscal conservatism?
Oh yeah, that's what. When Mary Ellen was in office, that's what they were battering Clinton about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why can't people make deals anymore? That's something that's confusing. I mean, you look at these party votes now on everything, and it's been that way for quite some time now. It's, here are the Democrats, here are the Republicans, and you've got to have a majority or else you're not going to win. You can't persuade anybody. It's strange.
It's almost like it's against the law for one party to agree with the other party.
Well, like
It's-
that budget last night, one person voted against it who was Republican.
Yeah.
One Republican.
Wasn't it like 215 to 217?
And they only could lose
Well,
one.
I guess 217 to 215.
And they lost one, and that was it. I mean, it's exactly down party lines, except for one person in the entire Congress.
Was that the lady from Maine?
No, I think it was Kentucky.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Kentucky.
So, in an odd place for that but he said this is not fiscally conservative, and this is not what my people want, and I don't know.
Wasn't Kentucky one of the poorest states? Or was that West Virginia? I think.
Well, West Virginia's terribly
Mississippi
poor.
is the poorest
It is
state.
the poorest.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and we'll continue to follow it. And I'll tell you, it is a breakneck pace as the days go on. What's going on statewide, obviously, with our gubernatorial race, what's going to go on nationally. Who knows what's going to happen? But you know what? It can change so quickly now. I mean, you can do one thing, and approval ratings can fall like dominoes now.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't take... And maybe James Carville is right. Maybe in 30 days, the Republican Party will implode on itself. And that'll be problematic if it is for them.
Yeah.
Glenn, thanks for coming in.
you.
Matt, Mary Ellen, it's always a pleasure, and it's always a good conversation. And again, Stewart's Root Beer celebrating 100 years this season, open from February until October. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Exchange. Come back next week. 6 beers heading for the dugout.